Hi everyone, very good afternoon to you. And in today's session, which is session 7 of our Excel training series, we are going to focus today on pivot table and how we can use the pivot table in order to convert data into tabular format and eventually create dashboards from the data. Before I begin the session today, I would like to show you something. This is a dashboard. When I click here on the products, I'm taken to the products data. When I click on salesperson, I'm taken to the salesperson data. This is a dashboard created using pivot table, using slicer and timeline filters and linking across worksheets or across sheets in the same workbook. However, in order to practice this, we will delve a little deeper into the pivot table options. Now, when you have data given to you, if you have data in table format, you can convert it into a pivot table. Alternatively, you can always convert a regular range of cells also into a pivot table. Within a data set, if I click Control A, it will select the whole data set till where the data exists. If I do a Control A, within a data set, it will select the whole data set till where the data extends or exists. Then what I am going to do is I am going to now convert this into pivot table. In order to convert this into a pivot table, I am going to go to insert, and from insert I am going to click on pivot table. It will help you to summarize your data, to collate your data and get concise values of your data set. Click on pivot table and here it will ask you select a table or a range. Select a table or a range. Here you will see that the table has been selected. Choose where you want the pivot table to be placed, and here I am going to choose a new worksheet. This shows that I will get a new worksheet where my pivot table will be placed. Click on OK, and this is my new sheet where I have my pivot table placeholder. Now, in the last session, we have covered all of these things. In the last session, we have covered these basic functionality of pivot table. Today, we are going to take the pivot table to the next level where we are going to talk about more advanced options related to a pivot table. If I take the state in the row shelf and I take the region also in the row shelf, you will realize that region is a main division and state is a subdivision. What I need to do is I need to move this to the top. So click on move up, and these are my regions and these are the states falling under the regions. In the value shelf, I am going to drag and drop insured value. In the value shelf, I am going to drag and drop insured value. So insured value will be dragged and dropped in the value shelf. Here I have my regions. Under the region, I have my states and I have my insured values here. And now what I'm going to do, if you see under central, only some states exist. The other states are not a part of central, and since there is no data associated with it, you will not see it on the pivot table. Similarly, under East, you only have NJ, which is New Jersey, And you have NY, which stands for New York. If I would like to show items which do not have data associated. So there are items which do not have data associated with it. And since they do not have data associated with it, they are not displayed on my pivot table. I repeat, I would like to show items on the pivot table which do not have any data associated. Click on the region cell, right click, and here I will go into field settings. When I right click on the item in the row shelf and go into field settings, I can make modifications in the field settings and show items which do not have data associated with it. I repeat, I can show items which do not have data associated. Click on field settings and move this here. Then under layout and print, you will see show items with no data. Show items with no data enables you to see items with no data. I repeat, show items with no data enables you to see items with no data. Click on OK, and here you will be seeing the items with no data. Just one moment. Let me show it to you on this example. The procedure is the same. This is my data. Okay. Under table design, I'm going to click on summarize with pivot table. And here I have my pivot report. Now, if you click on region in the row shelf and you bring the salesperson down, you will see in every category you do not have a salesperson. In every category, you do not have a salesperson. Take the amount in the value shelf. Now, I will right click here, and after right clicking under field settings, under layout and print, I will choose show items with no data. So if you see under North, you don't have data for Chandu and Ramesh. In North region, you do not have data for Chandu and for Ramesh. When I enable this, you will see data for Chandu and for Ramesh with blank cells. Just try it at your end. There is an issue with my program. I will have to restart my Excel, but I would like you to try field show items with no data in the row shelf. Please try this, everyone. Here. See, I have refreshed it again and it is showing now. Can you see this? Next to Ramesh, there's a blank cell. Next to Amit, there is a blank cell. Next to Chandu, there is another blank cell. And as you scroll down again, next to Chandu, there's a blank cell. So over here, by enabling items which do not have data over here, I am able to see items with data associated with it, as well as items which do not have data associated with it. Please try this, everyone. Please try this, everyone. Please try this, everyone. Once we complete, now instead of showing these blank spaces, I would like to show the number 0 to be displayed here. Instead of showing these empty spaces, I would like to show the number 0 over here. In order to do that, I will right click and go under pivot table options. I will right mouse click again and go to pivot table options. Pivot table options will enable me in order to replace the blank spaces with the number 0. Pivot table options will allow me to replace the blank spaces with 0. Click on pivot table options and here under layout and format, under pivot table options, under layout and format, under format you will see 4 empty spaces or 4 empty cells show 0. 4 empty cells show 0. This shows that wherever there are empty cells, it will be replaced by the number 0. Click on OK and now you will see wherever there are blank spaces or empty spaces, it will be replaced by the number 0. If there was a value associated with it, the value would be displayed. But since they are blank spaces, we are selecting 0. So right mouse click, pivot table options, under layout and format, under this, check this and write 0. Please complete this everyone and write a quick done in the chat box. Please complete this everyone and write a quick done in the chat box. Once you all complete, write done in the chat box. And the next example, I'm going to show you how you can replace blank spaces with text. The next example is text replacing blank spaces. The next example is text replacing blank spaces. Have you all completed? Write a quick done. Thank you. Okay, now what I'm going to do is, in order to replace the blank spaces with text, we will right mouse click and again go to pivot table options. Pivot table options will enable me in order to replace it with text. Layout and format. For empty cell, show, I'll write no value. So you can type the text which you want in this box in order to be displayed in case of empty cells. Click on OK. And here you will see the text with a left alignment because text is always shown in Excel with left align. So now the 0 has been replaced by no value as text. The 0 has been replaced by no value in the form of text. Please try this everyone and then we will proceed. Has everyone completed this? Has everyone completed this? Let me know quickly in the chat box. Have the participants completed this? Okay. So now I'm going to go to the next topic, which is called grouping. Firstly, I want to ask all of y'all, do you all have access to this file or do you all want me to send it to you all? Does everyone have the file? Write yes in the chat if you have the file. It was emailed this morning. Does everyone have the file? Tanvi, do you have the file? Ashwini, do you have the file? Ganesh sir, do you have the file? Okay. Ria, do you have the file? So everyone has the file? Okay. Have you all opened it? Okay. Now, the next topic which I am going to do is called as grouping in the pivot table. Now, when we do grouping in the pivot table, you can do grouping based on text. You can do grouping based on date. You can do grouping based on values. Clear the pivot table. Clear the pivot table. And now I'm going to do grouping based on text. For that, I'm going to take the salesman in the row shelf. And in the value shelf, I will take the quantity. By default, I will get the sum of the quantity sold by each salesperson. By default, I will get sum of the quantity sold by each salesperson. Now, what I need to do here is, if I want to group this data based on the salesperson. So, for example, Ajit and Ramesh report to reporting manager 1. Rohit and Amit report to reporting manager 2. And Chandu and Sidhu report to reporting manager 3. If I want to group based on values in the row shelf, all I have to do is select two items, right mouse click, select two items, right mouse click and click on group. What will group do? Group will group this data based on the two values which are supposed to be inside it. So when I click on group, it will group Ajit Kumar and Ramesh. Click on this. And now what will happen? Though I have grouped Ajit Kumar and Ramesh, it is still showing me other values. Why? Because I have said show me values with no data. So I will right mouse click and click on field settings, and under layout and print, I will remove this. By doing this, I will see Ajit Kumar and Ramesh in one group. Then if I want my second group with Rohit Das and Amit, I will select both the headings and the text matter. So Rohit's heading, Rohit's data, Amit's heading and Amit's data. Right click and I will click on group. This will create group 2. And finally for Chandu and Sidhu, I will right click and say group and my third group will be created. If I want to rename the group, all I have to do is click on top, go to the top and change this and call it team 1. Enter. Team leader 1 and click out. Then come here. Team leader 2. And finally, so these are the 3 groups created for team leader 1, team leader 2 and team leader 3. Please try this everyone. Please try this everyone. Also, you will see that as soon as I group, a new value gets added to the row shelf. I already had salesman 1, which was given. Salesman 2 is the names of the team leaders. Team leader 1, team leader 2, team leader 3 are my salesman 2. I can move this on top and I can move this down. So I can order it either upwards or downwards. Please try this everyone. Please try this everyone. Once you're done, let me know in the chat box and then I will show you how to group non-adjacent items. The next example is grouping non-adjacent items. Finish this and give me a heads up in the chat box. Complete this everyone and give me a heads up in the chat box, please. If anyone has any doubts or queries, let me know. If anyone has any doubts or queries, let me know. Okay, let me remove salesperson 2 from here. And now, if I want to group Ajit Kumar and Amit in one group, Ramesh and Rohit Das in the second group. So basically, I want to group Ajit Kumar and Amit, which are non-adjacent. I want to group Ramesh and Chandu, which are also non-adjacent. When you want to group based on items which are non-adjacent, we will select one item, hold control and select the second item. So select one item, hold control, select the second item. This will allow you to multi-select non-adjacent items. This will allow you to multi-select non-adjacent items. What will you do now? Right click and click on group. The method of grouping remains the same. Every time we want to group, we will have to right click and click on group. Click on group and now you will see that Ajit Kumar and Amit, which were non-adjacent items, have been put in a particular group. Remove salesman from here. What has happened is the salesman group and the group 1 are getting confused. So what I will do is I will come here, right click, and I will say ungroup. You will see salesman 2 has gone away. Now I will click on Amit Kumar, hold control, click on Ajit. So click on both Ajit Kumar and Amit by clicking on control. Use the control key on the keyboard, right click and say group selection. Now you can see Ajit Kumar and Amit are in group 1. If I want to put Ramesh and Chandu in group 2, select the data for Ramesh, press control, select the data for Chandu. Right click and say group. So this is the second group with Ramesh and Chandu. And finally, you can take Rohit Das and Sidhu in one. Please try grouping non-adjacent items by holding control key. You can always rename the name of the group. Please try everyone. Grouping non-adjacent items. Please try everyone. Okay. Now, I'm going to ask you all a couple of questions now. I need answers from all of you. The first question is, if I make changes to my data, do you think, I repeat, if I make changes to my data set here, do you think the new items will come to my pivot table? Do you think the new items will come to my pivot table? Tell me, will they come? Will they not come? What do I have to do? Yes, they will come. Why will they come? Because I will have to go to pivot table analyze and I will have to click on a refresh. Absolutely right. But suppose I make a setting, in such a way that every time I open my Excel workbook, I repeat, suppose I make a setting in such a way every time I open my pivot table workbook or every time I open this workbook, it will automatically refresh. It will auto refresh and pick up changes in values, updated values, and give me refreshed answers. So what will I do? I need to automatically refresh every time I open the file. So if I want to do something like that, then I need to again go into pivot table options. Right click over here and under pivot table options, under data, you have the option of refresh data when opening the file. Refresh data when opening the file. What does this mean? Every time you open your file, it will refresh your file and open it. Let us do it practically. Click on OK. Now we will go to the data sheet. And how many entries are there? I have 405 entries. I will go to this more data. There is more data here. I will copy this and I will go to this data and I will paste it here. How many entries are there now? 445. So that my numbers also flow, I will click on 405, press Ctrl and drag it down. Press Ctrl and drag it down. Okay. What am I going to do? I'm going to press the Ctrl on the keyboard and drag it down once. So come to the corner, press, hold down Ctrl key and drag it. So I got my numbers. So there are 444 rows of data. So we have more data added. When you come to your pivot table here, okay, double click on sum of quantity and convert it to count. This is the count of the quantity. So I will write count of quantity. This is to cross check my answer, okay? Count of quantity 405. Correct? So I'm writing it because when I refresh it, I should remember the old value. Okay. So currently the count of the quantity is 405 and I've gone to the data sheet and added more rows. I'm going to close this file, but when I'm closing it, I will save it. When I'm closing it, I will save it. The file is over here on my desktop. So all I have to do is double click and open it. When I double click and open it, as I have set, automatically refresh the file. When you open, what will happen? When you go to sheet 3, can you see the number here? And can you see the number here? It has automatically refreshed the file when I opened it and giving me the added number of entries. If they were added values, it would give me added values. If they were added salesperson, it would give me the added salesperson. Same goes for added items or for regions. So any possible value additions will be reflected in the pivot table. Why? Because after right clicking under pivot table options, in data, I have checked this. Refresh data when opening the file. Click on OK. And now I have my pivot table, which will auto refresh itself every time I reopen my file. This is one of the most interesting options in pivot table, which particularly I am very fond of. Please do try it out and let me know in the chat box. If someone wants me to repeat it, you can let me know that as well. If you want me to repeat it, let me know. Please try, everyone. Please try and let me know if you have any questions or queries. Now I have another question for all of y'all, which I'm putting over here on my Excel screen. If you delete your source data, does your pivot table also get deleted? Think about this question and answer. Have you ever thought of this? If you delete this data set, right? Do you think the pivot table will also get deleted? Anyone? Can anyone answer this? What do you all think? Yes, no, not sure. Never thought about it. Come on, tell me. Anyone? If you delete your source data, does your pivot table also get affected? Okay, I have an answer, looks like. No. If you delete your pivot, if you delete your data, your pivot table remains as it is. Because when your pivot table is created, the data is stored as temporary memory. It is stored as a temporary memory storage. So even if I come here, okay, for example, and I right click and I delete this, I'll say yes, my pivot table remains as it is. In fact, I can still go ahead, remove the values from here. I can come back here and add the values here. And I can do this. Is it clear, everyone? Any questions? Can you all try this, please? Delete it and then do a control Z and get it back, please. Okay, I'm not able to get it through Control Z. I will have to close the file, do not save, and open the file again. Close the file, do not save, and open the file again. Okay, so I get my source data so that I can make changes. Please try this, everyone, deleting the source. Anyone, any questions, any queries? Can we go ahead? Now, can anyone tell me why do you use the filter shelf? Can anyone tell me why do you use the filter shelf? Yes, we use the filter shelf to filter data. But what is the scenario? What is the circumstances within which you will need to use the filter shelf? What is the circumstances under which it will be mandatory for you to use the filter shelf? Think and answer. Under which circumstances do you need to use the filter shelf? Under which circumstances do you need to use the filter shelf? Okay. When I drag an item in the row shelf and I drag an item in the column shelf. So I have the salesman over here. I have the products in the column shelf. I'm going to take the amounts in the value shelf. Salesman, row shelf. Item, column shelf. Value, amount shelf. Now what I'm going to do is, if I want to filter based on salesperson, what will I do? I will go over here in row label, click on the drop down and filter. If I want to clear the filter, I will click here and say clear filter. Similarly, if I click on column shelf and I come here, I can filter based on column shelf. And say OK. So if I want to filter based on row shelf, I filter from the drop down here, from row labels. If I want to filter based on the column labels, I can filter from here based on the column labels. But if I want to filter based on region, can I filter now based on region? Anyone? Can I filter based on region? No. I cannot filter currently based on region because region is neither in my row shelf nor in my column shelf. Now, when I want to filter my data based on an item which is neither there in row shelf nor there in column shelf, I repeat, if I want to filter my data based on an item which is neither there in the row shelf nor in the column shelf, in that scenario, I will take the item in the filter shelf. I repeat, if I want to filter my data based on an item which is neither there in row shelf nor in the column shelf, then I drag and drop the item in the filter shelf. Okay, so if you want to filter based on something, neither their row shelf nor their column shelf, then I drag it in filter shelf. Click on the drop down here, and from here I can click on West. Click on OK, and I will see the data only for West. Click again here and click on East and click on OK. You will see the data only for East. Click again here, and if you want to select the data for West and for East, you can enable the select multiple items checkbox. When I keep the select multiple items checkbox on, I can multi-select. If I keep select multiple items checkbox on, I can select multiple items. So I can select West and East and say OK. And when I do that, I will see the data for West and for East. When I do that, I will see the data for West and for East. Click again over here and say all and click on OK. And now you are seeing all the data. So whenever an item needs to be filtered, but it is not a part of your pivot table, so it's not there in the row shelf, it is not there in the column shelf, then and only then do you drag and drop the item and put it in the filter shelf. Now what I'm going to do is, I am going to show you the part 2 of filter shelf, where we can generate individual report filter pages. Now, what is a report filter page? In a report filter pages, the item which is there in the filter shelf, I repeat, the item which is there in the filter shelf, we generate individual report filter pages of that item which is in the filter shelf. By doing that, we will get 4 individual page reports here. Since region has 4 regions, I will get 4 individual pivot reports. So I will get a special page or a specific page for East with the name of the page East. I will get a new page for North with the name of the page North. Similarly for South and for West. Click again on Pivot Table Analyze, and after clicking on Pivot Table Analyze, under the name of your pivot table, there are options. Under the name of your pivot table, under Pivot Table Analyze, there are options. And from here, I can click on Show Report Filter Pages. This will enable you in order to generate individual report filter pages for the item in the filter shelf. It will enable you to generate individual report filter pages for the item in the filter shelf. Click on Show Report Filter Pages. Over here, they will ask you, show report filter pages of region. Why? Because region is the item in the filter shelf. Click on OK. And now you will see a new page for East, and it is showing you filtered data for East. On the page North, you will see North region and filtered data for North. On the South, you will see South region as the filter and data for South here, and same for West. So under Pivot Table Analyze, under Options, you have Show Report Filter Pages, which helps you or shows you individual report filter pages for the item in the filter shelf. Please try this, everyone. You can try another example also of this. When you take the region in the filter shelf and you can have the item wise count of the quantity, where you can have the item wise count of the quantity. Please try, everyone. Let me know if you want it to be repeated or if you have any questions or queries. 4-page report filter pages. Once you've completed, please let me know so I can go ahead with the next topic. Let me know, I can go ahead with the next topic. Okay. Now you will see that in row labels, I have the items, that is the products, and in the value shelf, I have the count of the amount. In the row labels, I have the items, and in the value, I have the count of the amount. Now suppose I would like to apply a filter. If I want to apply a filter, I can click on row label, and from row label, I can either apply a label filter for the text-based items, or I can apply a value filter for the numeric values. But the problem is that most of the time, I can only apply one filter. Most of the time, I can only apply one filter. So let me come here and I will say I want to display all items ending with ER. So what do I want to display? All items ending with ER. Correct? So I want to display all items ending with ER. So click on the drop down here, go to label filter, and under label filter choose ends with. Under label filter choose ends with. Click on ends with, and here show item for which the label ends with write ER. Click on OK, and now you will see the value filter has been applied for all the items, and currently it is only displaying items which end with the character ER. I repeat, you will see items only ending with the last two characters ER. Let me come to the drop down here. And here what I am going to do is, under value filter, I will apply one more filter. You will see very clearly what happens. Currently, I have over here all items ending with ER. So what is being displayed? All items ending with ER. But now I'm going to apply a filter where I want all items more than 75. If I want items more than 75, I should only get printer and scanner. So what is my next one? So count should be more than 75. Correct? This is my second filter. This is a value filter. That is a label filter. This is a value filter. Now, for the value filter, I will click here and I will say greater than, and I will write over here 75. What will I say? Greater than, and I will write over here 75. Click on it. Can you see what happens? They are not all ending with ER. What it is done is, it has done a replace. What does replace mean? It has removed this filter. Okay. This filter has been removed and this one has been activated. Correct? So right now, I'm only seeing the data for more than 75 count. If I want multiple filters to be seen on the pivot, okay, firstly clear everything. If I want multiple filters to be seen on the pivot, what I need to do is right mouse click and under pivot table options, under tools and filters, click on allow multiple filters per group. Allow multiple filters per group will allow you to have more than one filter in each group. Allow multiple filters per group will allow you to have more than one filter in each group. So then you will not have a replace happening. You will have this filter and this filter both being applied. Click on OK. Now go here to row labels. Label filter ends with ER. OK. Click again here. Value filter greater than 75. Can you see over here? It is ending with ER and it is more than 75. So what you need to do is right mouse click, go to pivot table options, under tools and filters, enable allow multiple filters per group. Please try this everyone. Let us proceed. And now what we are going to do is, since we have tried enabling multiple filters, we will clear these filters now and let us go to the sorting related options. In order to clear the filter, we will click here and we will clear the filter from this. Now, there are multiple levels of sorting your data. What are the methods with which you can sort your data? Can anyone quickly tell me in the chat box? What are the methods of sorting your data? How can you sort your data? Anyone? There are multiple methods by which you can sort your data. What are the methods of sorting your data? Anyone? How can you sort your data? Ashwini, how can you sort the data? What are the methods of sorting? Poonam, how can you sort the data? Come on, tell me. Anyone? Methods of sorting? Okay. You can sort the data in ascending order. You can also sort the data in descending order. So I repeat, you can sort the data in ascending order. You can also sort the data in descending order. In pivot table, you can also select items and you can manually move them up and down. So if you have a few items, you can consider the option of manually moving the item up and down. When you select the item, when you go to the corner, can you see this 4 arrow option? This 4 arrow option means that you can manually move the item down. Can you see this green symbol with the arrow? This shows that now it will place that item between mouse and printer. Select monitor. Again, you will get that move symbol. And now I'll move it right to the bottom. That means below speaker. So in this way, you can order and reorder items by manually moving them up and down. So you can sort them in ascending order, you can sort them in descending order, or you can manually move them up and down. Now I'm going to go to the row label and under more sort options, manually, that is dragging, ascending order. When I click on ascending order, in the drop down, there will be two ways I can arrange it in ascending order. I can arrange it based on the item name, that is alphabetical order of the item name, or based on the count of the amount. I can also order and reorder items based on the count of the amount. When I arrange it based on the count of the amount, I can see the numeric values in ascending order. Click on count of amount, click on OK, and now you will see that the data is sorted in ascending order but based on the amount. Come on, sort it, sort the data in the pivot based on the amount column in ascending order. Please try. Please try, everyone. Once you all are done, let us go ahead, and now I'm going to talk to you about sorting data based on a custom order. If you have a custom order where you would like to sort the data, for example, let me write over here. I will say scanner, printer, mouse, monitor, keyboard, speaker. Now, I have written a custom order over here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to save this custom order, and then I'm going to say every time we want to sort the data or when new data comes in, it should only sort based on this custom list. In order to save the custom list in Excel, in order to save the custom list in Excel, we will go to File, and under Files, click on Options. Okay, under File, click on Options. After that, click on Advanced and scroll to the end, and under General, you will see the option of Editing Custom List. You will see the option of Editing Custom List. You will see the option of Editing Custom List. Click on Edit Custom List, and here from this range we are going to import it. Here from this range we are going to import it. Click on Import, and I'm going to select the data. Add it. After importing, add it. So we are selecting it, then we are adding it. You will see over here, scanner, printer, mouse, monitor, keyboard, speaker is added in the last row. Click on OK, and now click on OK again. Now what we need to do is, we need to decide the custom lists are only used while sorting the data. Custom lists are only used while sorting the data. In order to use custom list while sorting the data, what we are going to do over here is, under pivot table options, when we are sorting the data, under tools and filters, we will check this, use custom lists when sorting. When this option is on, it will always use the custom list while sorting the data. So can you see this over here? It is now sorting the data based on custom list. It is now sorting the data based on custom list. So you click here, and you will make sure every time the report is sorted, it is sorting the data based on the custom list. So you can change the default setting of sorting your pivot table based on custom list. Click again over here, click on A to Z, and now you have the data sorted again in ascending order. So based on custom list sorting is also a very important option which you can consider if you have a custom sort order. When you are sorting months of the year or the days of the week, you cannot use your regular sorting, and that is when custom sorting will come into being. Clear the pivot table, and now I'm going to show you how to create simple calculated fields. And now I'm going to show you how to create simple calculated fields. Calculated fields are fields that we create, using the headers of the pivot table fields and whereby we add new columns to our data. So using the labels of the items which are already there, and we add new columns to the data. So now what I'm going to do over here is, in order to create a calculated field, I am going to take the salesperson. I'm going to add the region above it. So I have the region and I have the salesperson. I have the amount here, click and drag. So basically, I have the sum of the amount generated, and I can call this per month amount. Okay, so I can call this sum of the amount per month. If I want the annual amount, I repeat, if I want the annual amount, I am going to create a calculated field for this purpose. I am going to create a calculated field for this purpose. In order to create a calculated field, under pivot table analyze, I will go in this calculation section. This calculation section will enable me in order to create a calculated field. This calculation section will enable me in order to create a calculation section. Over here under pivot table analyze, under calculations in the drop down, I can create a calculated field. I can create a calculated field. Click on calculated field, and here I am going to create the calculated field. First, I need to specify your calculation name. First, I need to specify your calculation name. So here I will call this annual turnover. So the name I'm giving over here is annual turnover. Then I will write my formula, which is my main part of my calculated field. So I will write is equal to 12 because there are 12 months in the year, multiplied by, and I will take the amount and I will insert the field. So 12 multiplied by amount, and I will click on OK. You will see that a new column called annual turnover has been added. You will see a new column called annual turnover is added. And when you scroll here, you'll also see annual turnover added in your pivot table fields. So what do I want you all to do? Go and write a calculated field, everyone. Write the calculated field, everyone, please. Everyone, please go and write your calculated field. Once you're done with this, I will show you one more example for a calculated field where I will calculate the amount presuming that I do not have the amount column. So the quantity and the price is giving me the amount. I can make a custom column or I can make a calculated field for the amount as well. In order to do that, I will drag and drop these items from here. And can anyone tell me how will I write the calculated field? Can anyone tell me the calculation for the amount column? Anyone in the chat box very quickly? What is the formula for calculated column for amount? I have quantity, I have price. What will the formula for amount be? I have quantity, I have price. What will the formula for amount be? If I have quantity and price, what will the formula for amount be? Anyone? I am waiting. Yes, quantity into amount. We can say quantity into price will give me amount, but good try, very good try. So let us write it together over here, Ganesh sir. We will call it total column. I'll tell you why we are calling it total column, because we already have an amount column. Otherwise, we'll have to say amount underscore 1 or amount 1 in order to make sure it doesn't clash with the already available items in the pivot table field. Start writing it, take quantity, insert field, multiplied by click price, insert field. So quantity multiplied by price is giving me amount, click on OK. Here you can see the sum of the amount. So quantity multiplied by price is giving me the amount. Let me check here. So here I have quantity, you have price, and this is the amount. Here there are values, but according to me, this formula that we've written is correct, where we have multiplied the quantity by the amount. Please try this, everyone. Please try this, everyone, and let me know. After we are done, I am going to go ahead with top 10 item filter. Top 10 item or bottom 10 item or bottom 3 and top 3 items are filters which we can add to our pivot tables. Once you're done, let me know in the chat box. We will proceed. In the meanwhile, I'm clearing out my pivot table. Okay. Here I have the number of items in the row label. And in the value column, I have the sum of the amounts generated by these items in the row label. I repeat, I have the items in the row label, and in values, I have the sum of the amounts for these items. If I want to see the top 3 best performing items, all I have to do is click on the drop down, and from here under value fields, you will see top 10. This will enable you in order to filter the item in the item shelf. So the products in the item shelf based on highest performing and lowest performing values. So click on top 10, and if you want top 3, either you can reduce the number like this, or you can delete this and write the other number. When I write top 3, it will now give me top 3 items by sum of amount. So based on amount, the item or the value in or the products in the value in the row shelf will be given based on the sum of the amounts. So the highest performing amounts, first 3 of them will be shown in the filter. Click on OK. Have you all completed? Okay. Let me remove these items from here. And now let me clear the filter. Now let me apply a filter on bottom 3 items in order to show the lowest performing items. So click on row label, click on value filter and click on top 10. In the drop down under top, you have bottom, which allows you to filter based on bottom 3 items. Click on 3, click on OK, and here you can see the bottom 3 items. Here you can see the bottom 3 items. Click on the drop down again and clear the filter from the item shelf. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to explain to you about subtotals. Now when you apply a pivot table, by default, you only get one subtotal, which is the subtotal based on the sum of the values. That is the default subtotal on the pivot table. So if I take the salesperson and the item, here you have the salesperson, you have the items, and this is your subtotal. You have the salesperson, you have the item, this is your subtotal. This is Ramesh, this is the subtotal of Ramesh. Now, how did these subtotals come? Basically, when all of these values got added, we came up to this figure over here, which is the subtotal. Similarly, when all of these items got added, I came to this value over here. So basically, when the items in the row shelf got added, the subtotals were created. Now, suppose if I would like to apply a subtotal to the data, if I would like to apply a subtotal to the data, but I do not want the default sum, I can make changes and I can change it from the field settings. Now, by default, pivot table is a space saving tool. So the subtotal always comes at the top of the group. Why does it come at the top of the group? In order to save space. If I go to design, I can go to subtotals, and on the drop down, I can say show subtotals at the bottom of the group. When I click on show subtotals at the bottom of the group, it will show me the subtotals at the bottom of the group. It will show me the subtotals at the bottom of the groups. This is one subtotal, this is the next. As I scroll down, you will see different subtotals, all of them at the bottom of the group. But now you will be able to realize that the value next to this is an empty cell. The value next to this is an empty cell. And therefore, in order to take care of this empty space and in order to give you a concise report, by default, pivot table always shows subtotals at the top of the group. Okay. But if you would like to show a subtotal in the form of an average or a count or a minimum or a maximum, you can right click and go into field settings. Field settings allows you in order to change the settings for your subtotal. It allows you to change your settings for your subtotal. Click on field settings, move this item here, and by default, subtotals are automatic. What I need to do is click on custom, and then I can choose select one or more functions. That means I can select more than one item to be a part of my subtotal. I can select more than one item to be a part of my subtotal. So I can say I want sum, I also want count, and I want an average. So in addition to the default subtotal, which is always a sum subtotal coming at the top of the group, I am now customizing my subtotals in order to display more than one type of subtotal for each group in my row shell. Click on OK, and now what will happen is you will see the subtotals here. Let me clear this pivot report so that the subtotals show properly. Okay, so I'm going to come here. I'm going to take the region. Under the region, I'll put salesperson. Okay, I'll go to subtotal and say do not show sub. Then I will right click, I will go to field settings, and from none, I'll make it custom. And I'll say I want sum, count, say OK. And now you will see the sum and the count of the subtotals. There is an issue with my subtotals. It is actually supposed to be coming below each group. Okay, so just let me remove this, clear it, and recreate a pivot. So select the data, summarize with pivot report, click the salesman. Under the salesman, click on item. Under item, I'm going to put amount. And now I will right click, and under field settings, I will choose custom. By default, it will be sum. Let me make it count and average. And now you will see the count and the average of the subtotals coming at the bottom of the group. I think there is something with my settings because of which it's coming here. It is actually supposed to be coming in this manner below each group. It's supposed to be coming below each group. I don't know why it's coming at the end of the data. So I'm removing the items without any values. So I'm going to go to pivot table, data, filters. I will say layout and format. For empty cells, I don't want to see it. Remove salesperson, add salesperson. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click and under field settings, I'm going to choose custom and say count. This will give me the count of the subtotal. There is an issue with my settings, I think, because I've been applying so many options. But do let me know in the chat box where your subtotals are appearing. This will give you more than one type of subtotal. This will give you more than one type of subtotal. Please try, everyone. These are my subtotals for my region. I want to apply them only for, I don't want to apply them for salesperson. I want to apply them for region. So right click, field settings, and for the region, I'm going to apply them for count and average. Yes. So here, this is the way it's supposed to look. So when the region is selected, these are the subtotals for the region. If my salesperson would be selected, then I would be getting the subtotals for the salesperson. So what you need to do is select the region, right click, click on pivot table options, and here we are going to go to the field settings. Under field settings, under custom, this is the way you're supposed to be doing it. Please try this, everyone. Under field settings, region, I'm showing a customize for count, sum, and average. Please try this, everyone, and let me know when you all are done. Let me know when you all complete. We will create the next pivot table where we are going to group it based on date. Where we are going to group the pivot table based on date. These are all our preparatory steps that we are doing so that we can start creating dashboards. So that we can start creating dashboards. So today you can actually consider the class as a rough work, and in tomorrow's session we will start creating the real-time dashboard. Now, in order to group based on date, we are going to take the date in the row shelf. So take the item which is a date in the row shelf. It is already showing grouped, so I'll need to ungroup it. And then I will take the amount in the value shelf. So I have the date in the row shelf. I have the amount in the value shelf. Then what I'm going to do is select the first date, and either I will right click and say group selection, or I can go to pivot table analyze and click on group field. Whether I click on group field or I click on group selection, the same pop-up will appear. Whether I click on group selection or I click on group field, the same pop-up will appear. Click on group field, and here I can say I would like to group it based on months. Click on years if you want to group it based on years. Since the data is from 2021 to 2023, I think it is advisable to use the year option as well. Click on OK, and here you have the year-wise grouping as well as the month-wise grouping. If you click on the minus sign here, it will collapse all fields. If you click on the plus sign here, it will expand all fields. So all you have to do is put the date in the row shelf and put an amount or any numeric value in the value shelf, and then either right click and click on group, or you can click on group selection, or you can go ahead with group field. Please try this, everyone. Please try date-wise grouping before we proceed. If anyone has any questions or queries, you can let me know. Once you've completed the grouping, I'm going to show you how to link the data from one sheet to the next sheet. In order to link from one sheet to the next sheet, we will take the concept of hyperlink one step forward. For example, if East related data is here, I can go to the data sheet here and I can make a text box here and write East. When I click on it, it will take me to the sheet called East. Go to Insert and under Insert, you have text box. Click on text box and click and drag to draw a text box. Now I will write East here. Select the text, align its center and middle. Increase the size of the text. Click on the box. Change the color of the box from shape format. So click on shape format and from shape styles, you can choose a style. Now click on the box and then go to insert. In insert, we will go to the link section. So first, what are we doing? We are first creating a text box. Then we are writing text inside. We are formatting it and then we are going to create a link. The link will be created within this Excel sheet itself. Within this workbook only, the link will be created. Select the text box, click on link, and from here choose insert link. Insert link will allow you in order to insert a hyperlink. Click on insert link, and since we want to place it within this workbook only, in the link to section, I will choose place in this document. Place in this document will allow me in order to link it to another sheet within this document itself. Click on place in this document, and now what I am going to do is I am going to link this to the worksheet called East. Click on East from the list of the documents and say OK. Now click outside. When you hover over East, a hand icon will come and you can see the link. Click on it and it will take you to the sheet called East. In order to repeat it for North, you can repeat the same procedure. Click and drag and create a text box. Type your text inside the text box and then link it to the sheet called North. Another way of doing this would be to first create your text boxes, okay? Format your text boxes and then link all your text boxes. So now since we've got the North ready, select it, go to insert, under link, choose insert link and here link it to the North sheet. Now when you click on North, it will take you to North. Come back to this, click on East, it will take you to the East. You can also make navigation buttons across sheets. You can also make navigation buttons across sheets in order to select data. From here, you can go back to data. From North sheet also, you can keep going back to your data set. So this is the concept of hyperlinking, where we are using it to link your data between sheets. Now, one more type of linking is there in the dashboard. That is the linking of the number. When I change the data for monitor or mouse, you will see my total amount and total sales both are changing. That is because this value and this value both have been fetched from pivot tables. So when you make any modification here, you will see these values change. In order to create something like this, let me show you the steps. First, let me go to the data sheet. If I would like to see the grand total of East, so this is the grand total of East, let me color it. Go to North, this is the grand total of North, correct? In order to pick up data of the grand total of East and North, I will go to the data sheet, and here next to East, I will make a text box. So go to Insert, click on Text box, and click and drag and make a text box. Now I cannot link this text box but to the pivot table, but from the formula bar, I can create a link. So after drawing the text box, in order to write something in the text box, we will go to the formula bar. So step 1, draw the text box. Then you will go to the formula bar and type equal to, go to the East sheet and pick up the data. Now, when you pick up one cell that you need, you will get a get pivot data reference. If you don't want the get pivot data reference, take 2 cells. When you take 2 cells, you do not get the get pivot data long formula or reference. Then after selecting 2 cells, I only want H cell, H11. So I will gradually delete the I cell and hit enter. As soon as I do that, I get the data here for East. From where? From this sheet. Now, if I come here and I make changes and I do a filter, this value will change. And when I come here, you will see that this value also will change. Now, the problem is that I have given the reference in the dashboard sheet to the cell H11. So when it is moving up, you will see that the reference is changing. So I cannot filter from here because I'm giving the reference of this cell, which is H11. So if I want to see updated values, I will have to find another slicer which controls this pivot table. Generally, what we do is we create another pivot table and only keep total values there. Let me show you the rough work over here of this pivot report for you to get a better idea. See this? These are the pivot tables. Here you will see that at the end, there is a pivot table here. Here, there is a pivot table here which only has sum of total and which only has count. These are 2 specific pivot tables created based on the earlier data, which enable me in order to make changes here. So when I make changes here, the count will change, the sum will also change because I have taken the amount over here. And when the slicers affect the amount, it will be reflected on the dashboard. So how to make this dashboard is tomorrow what we are going to cover in the session. So here you can see the linking. This linking we have covered. You can also take the example of picking up data. The only thing which we did not cover was adding your icon, which I will show you shortly. So I'm going to come here and under insert, there is illustrations and icons. Under insert, there is illustrations and icons. Click on icons and here you have different icons available. Write graphs. And here you will see different types of graphs. If you wrote chart, you will only get these charts. But when you write graphs, you also get smart art graphics like these. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to come and take this chart, or I'm going to take this particular graph and click on OK. Immediately the graph gets inserted. Both of them have got inserted. I can take the one I want. I can leave the other one. In order to change the color, I can click on it, and under graphics format, I can go to graphics fill and change the color. I can place this next to north, change the color of this to orange, and I can place this next to east after resizing it. So in this manner, we have learned how to add icons, how to color the icon, and how to pick up data from a pivot report so that the values get updated when you make changes to your chart or graph. If you have any questions or queries, you can now let me know. If you have any questions or queries, you can now let me know. Any questions, any queries, let me know, please. The session has been recorded. The links will be shared with you all in the same playlist. So all you have to do is click on the playlist. You will have access to all the different videos which we have recorded over the last 3 weeks. This is our last week of training, and tomorrow is our last day of training, where I will give you an overview of macros and I will show you how to create a dashboard. If you are looking at more advanced training sessions, you can let your team know. But in this series, this is what has been covered in the session. I hope the sessions have been helpful and productive for all of you all. If you all have any questions, you all can let me know. Otherwise, we can stop for today. Any questions, any queries, let me know.